Imagine walking into an old funhouse. It's dark. Creepy figures are hanging from the ceiling, and in one corner, there's a dead-looking man hanging by a rope. You look at him. Maybe you laugh. Maybe you take a picture. Then, you walk away. Now imagine finding out that the dummy you just saw wasn't a dummy at all. He was a real man, and he had been dead for 65 years. His name was Elmer McCurdy, and this is one of the strangest true stories to come out of the American West. Oklahoma, 1911. The American West was still full of outlaws, train robbers, gunslingers, and men looking for one big score. Elmer McCurdy wanted his share. He wasn't some legendary gunslinger. He wasn't a famous outlaw like Jesse James. McCurdy was a small-time criminal who believed he had finally found his big opportunity. He and his gang heard that a train was carrying a huge amount of money. The figure they had in mind, around $400,000. For McCurdy, this could change everything, so they planned the robbery. They stopped the train. They broke into the safe. And then came the problem. They had stopped the wrong train. The fortune they were expecting simply wasn't there. Instead of hundreds of thousands of dollars, McCurdy ended up with roughly $46 in cash, some whiskey, a revolver, a coat, and a conductor's watch. That was it. The great train robbery had turned into an almost ridiculous failure, but McCurdy's luck was about to get even worse. The last stand. After the robbery, McCurdy hid inside a hay shed on a ranch, but the police were already looking for him. On October 7, 1911, they surrounded the building. McCurdy refused to surrender. Gunfire erupted. For hours, the police waited for him to come out. Then, silence. McCurdy was dead. A failed outlaw had reached the end of his road, or so everyone thought. The body that wouldn't disappear. McCurdy's body was taken to a funeral home in Pawhuska, Oklahoma, but nobody came to claim him. No family, no relatives, no one willing to pay for his funeral. So the undertaker, Joseph Johnson, preserved the body. And somehow, McCurdy's corpse stayed remarkably intact. Instead of quickly decomposing, it became something that looked almost like a human mummy. And Johnson realized something. He could make money from it. He dressed McCurdy in his old clothes, placed a rifle in his hands, and put him on display. The attraction was promoted as the body of an outlaw who supposedly wouldn't give up. People paid 5 cents to see him. Some visitors even tossed coins into his mouth. Think about that for a second. The man who had failed to make a fortune from a train robbery was now making money after he was dead. The great lie. Then one day, 2 men arrived. They claimed to be McCurdy's brothers. They said they had come to take his body home. The undertaker believed them. But there was one problem. They weren't his brothers. They were carnival operators. They took McCurdy's preserved body and turned him into a traveling attraction. And that was the beginning of a bizarre second life. A life that would last for decades. The dead man goes on tour. McCurdy's body traveled across America, from carnival to carnival, from sideshow to wax museum, from wax museum to haunted attraction. Eventually, he ended up in amusement parks. Over the years, people saw him in different costumes and different settings. Sometimes he was presented as an outlaw, sometimes as a hanging victim, sometimes simply as a creepy dead body. People stared at him. Children laughed at him. Visitors posed for photographs, and nobody seemed to realize what they were actually looking at, a real human corpse. Eventually, the truth was completely forgotten. New owners came along, new attractions were built, and McCurdy became just another prop, a mannequin, a wax figure, a creepy decoration. Nobody remembered the man behind it. Nobody remembered his name. Nobody remembered that he had died back in 1911 until 1976. 1976. The hand that changed everything, Long Beach, California. At the old New Pike amusement park, a television crew was filming an episode of The $6 Million Man. Inside the funhouse were several creepy figures. One of them was a hanging man. The crew assumed it was just another dummy. But during the production, someone grabbed the figure, and suddenly, the arm broke off. At first, it looked like a normal prop accident. Then they looked inside. There was no plastic, no wood, no mannequin frame. There were bones and preserved human tissue. The crew immediately realized they had a serious problem. Police were called. Investigators examined the body, and then came the identification. The corpse belonged to Elmer McCurdy, the failed train robber who had died in Oklahoma 65 years earlier. The same man whose body had been displayed for money. The same body that had traveled through carnivals and amusement parks. The same body that people had spent decades believing was fake. For the first time in 65 years, McCurdy was finally identified. His body was returned to Oklahoma, and in 1977, he was finally buried at Summit View Cemetery in Guthrie. But this time, they made absolutely sure nobody would ever steal his body again. A layer of concrete was poured over his grave. No carnival, no sideshow, no funhouse, no tickets, no audience, just a grave. And finally, silence. The strangest part, Elmer McCurdy wasn't a legendary outlaw. He wasn't rich. He wasn't powerful. His final robbery was almost a joke. He expected thousands of dollars. He got around 46. Then the police killed him. And nobody even came to claim his body. But somehow, his corpse became more famous than he ever was alive. For 65 years, his body traveled across America. People looked at him, paid to see him, took pictures with him, and walked away believing they had just seen a mannequin. They had no idea they were standing next to a man who had been dead for decades. And that may be the strangest twist of all. Elmer McCurdy failed as an outlaw, but in death, he became one of the most bizarre attractions in American history. A man who couldn't make his fortune robbing a train ended up earning money for other people for more than half a century. And the man nobody came to bury in 1911 finally got a grave in 1977. This time, they put concrete over it, just to make sure Elmer McCurdy stayed dead.